Legacy of the Void starts with 3 Zealots, 2 High Templars, and a probe fighting some Zerg. For unknown reasons, the psychic bond between Protoss is referred to as the Kala, when the Kala was a caste system that dictated how the Protoss society was run. Also, without the discipline of the Kala, the Protoss cannot control psychic powers. Since this mistake happens throughout the game, I will only mention it when relevant. After a short battle, a pylon is walked in and the Protoss are able to summon an army of Zealots to fight the Zerg army, which is an actual strategy used in multiplayer. Aiur. The Aiur missions start with the Hierarch Artanis leading a Protoss army to retake Aiur from the Zerg. Zeratul then appears and Selendis tries to arrest him, though it's not clear what crime he's committed. Zeratul then tries to warn the Protoss of Amon. Selendis points out that the Overmind knew where Aiur was because Zeratul killed Zas. And Artanis continues the invasion as the Protoss have made many sacrifices so that they could reconquer Aiur. For no reason, Zeratul doesn't mention that he can contact Kerrigan and have her remove all the Zerg from Aiur, which would result in fewer deaths and both of their armies being larger and better able to fight Amon. For Aiur. The first mission exists to teach the player how to use Protoss units, even though there were 3 prologue missions to do that. As this army has Nerazine Stalkers rather than Dalam Dragoons, this seems to be a joint High Templar and Dark Templar army. Near the final Warp Conduit, it's revealed that hybrids are leading the Zerg. This is good as it links the main plot, stopping Amon, with the current plot, reconquering Aiur. Once the Warp Conduits have been reclaimed, Artanis decides to discuss the hybrids with Zeratul. During the cutscene, Zeratul tells Artanis about Amon, and that the artifact is still important. Zeratul reveals that it's located on Korhal, which makes sense as Menks had it at the end of Heart of the Swarm, though it doesn't explain why Neru didn't destroy the artifact to prevent anyone finding the Zelnaga. It's also unclear why either of them needed to warp down to Aiur to have this conversation when both were on a spaceship during the previous mission. The Growing Shadow. This mission starts with Artanis telling Zeratul to get the artifact while he recovers the Spear of Adun. Zeratul then finds that his ship has been destroyed and that there are Zerg in this area. Zeratul then decides to investigate off-screen rather than contact Artanis to report this and request another ship. Upon getting to the Protoss base, Selendis says that Artanis is missing from the Kala and asks you to save him. You're then introduced to Karax, who's the Protoss version of Swan. Upon reaching another Protoss base, the Protoss attack you. Zeratul tries to contact Selendis, but gets no response. Artanis then says that the Kala is full of rage, followed by Amon taking control of the Zealots and trying to kill Zeratul. Amon can't control the Stalkers because they're Nerazine Protoss, meaning that they aren't connected to the Kala. This is good storytelling as there's a clear reason why some Protoss can and can't be controlled. While trying to get to Artanis, the Protoss units are fighting each other, indicating that Amon doesn't have complete control over all of them. Though as you progress it becomes clear that Artanis is losing the battle against Amon. Upon getting to Artanis, a cutscene plays where Zeratul tries to remove Artanis' nerve cords in order to sever him from the Kala and free him from Amon's control. Unfortunately, Amon corrupts Artanis and they fight one another in a battle that reminds me of Warcraft 3, where Thrall fought Grom Hellscream, who had been corrupted by the Pit Lord Manaroth. Battle ends with Zeratul dying but Artanis losing his nerve cords. Zeratul then turns to dust and Artanis takes one of his Vambraces. Afterwards, the Zerg start wiping out the Dark Templar. Then Artanis and some Zealots show up and save Karax. Artanis then tells Karax that they can escape in the Spear of Adun. For unknown reasons, the Spear of Adun is under the Conclave, who were a group of Protoss elders that ruled the Judicator Assembly, which controlled the Protoss society. Also, Selendis is under Amon's control, just like all the other Protoss. This is the first mission where you get to use the Spear of Adun's abilities, such as being able to warp in a pylon. For unknown reasons, you can recruit units in this mission even though all the non-Nerazine Protoss are under Amon's control. Though all of your zealots are missing their nerve cords, whereas the enemy zealots still have them. So it's possible that the Stalkers and Dark Templars were able to sever the nerve cords of many zealots. Despite being aware of exactly where Artanis is, Amon just taunts him rather than sending Protoss or Zerg reinforcements to his location. Once all the power cells have been activated, the Spear of Adun activates, all the non-corrupted Protoss are warped aboard, and the Spear of Adun flies away, somehow being able to bypass all the Zerg and Protoss defences on Aiur. Conclusion. Originally, Zeratul was going to be the protagonist of this game, which is why in the previous 2 games he was trying to warn their protagonists about Amon. However, while in development, the protagonist was changed to Artanis. Given that in Utter Darkness Artanis was referred to as the Hierarch, and commanded a mothership named the Shield of Aiur, it makes sense for him to command the Protoss armies. Oddly, at no point in that mission do any of the Protoss mention that Amon corrupted the Kala, or that they needed to have their nerve cords removed. Almost like the writers hadn't thought of this. In 4 Aiur, the Protoss choose to reclaim their planet over getting an artifact makes sense, as does Artanis sending Zeratul to get the artifact, because this task doesn't require a giant army. Though it is odd that Zeratul didn't ask Kerrigan to remove the Zerg from Aiur, especially since he was worried about being punished by the Protoss, and helping them reclaim Aiur would have improved his reputation. In the Growing Shadow, we're introduced to the main conflict of this game, Amon controlling the Protoss through their psychic bond, which is incorrectly referred to as the Kala. This is consistent with the mission A Sinister Turn, where a hybrid was able to control the Protoss using the Preservers. Overall, I feel that this is good, as it provides a good reason why the Protoss don't have all their units and technologies for the majority of the game. In the Spear of Adun, you're able to recruit an army, even though it's unlikely that many Protoss had their nerve cords severed. This mission should have been similar to Evil Awoken, where you had to carefully use your units, rather than build up a large army. It was also odd that Amon didn't send more forces to kill the only things on the planet he didn't control. I suppose he could have been overconfident because he had a giant army, but he should have known about the Spear of Adun due to all the Protoss he controlled. This mission also introduces you to the Spear of Adun's abilities. Like Kerrigan, the Spear of Adun gives you advantages on the battlefield, but unlike Kerrigan, it's not a unit, so you can't win just using the Spear of Adun, which gives the player a good reason to build units. In conclusion, while the first 2 missions are better than the third one, all the missions do a good job introducing a player to the main plot, and establishing that the villain they've been building up for 2 games is a credible threat. It's just a pity that Amon's motivations are to destroy everything for no real reason.